woman who's often whispered about, misunderstood, or even mislabeled, the sexually liberated woman.
They might be called too much, they might be called too difficult to handle, too easy. A lot of labels exist, right? Sometimes women are just depicted as someone who's crazy, someone who's, reckless sexually, or someone who's just exploring. That's not the only aspect of sexual liberation. Knowing your body, knowing yourself gives you the confidence to do what you want and ask for what you need. A lot of us watch Disney movies, something as simple as Snow White, right? Yeah. What is consent, what is not consent?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Pleasure Principle. As you know, this is the space where we explore the science, the soul, and the sass of intimacy and wellness. Whether you're turning in to heal or feel or just question everything that you've been told, this is your place to get curious without judgment. Let's welcome my expert, my guest, Dr. Mansi Jain. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dr. Mansi Jain is a psychiatrist and has been practicing for over 10 years. Today's episode is all about a woman who's often whispered about, misunderstood, or even mislabeled, the sexually liberated woman. She's bold, she's curious, and she's in charge of her pleasure, and most importantly, she's unapologetic about it. But let's be real, society still has a complicated relationship with a woman who owns her sexuality. From being called too much to having her worth questioned, there's a lot to unpack. So today, we are flipping the script. We are talking self-worth, agency, and double standards, and the freedom to want, feel, and express without shame. It's not about being loud or wild. It's about being authentic. It's about claiming your space in a world and in your own body. Dr. Mansi, I want to start this episode a little differently. I want to ask you about a case that you may have handled which made you think, oh my God, what is even happening here?
So we do receive a lot of online consultation requests, and some of them are not very genuine because these are usually happening on certain portals, medical health portals, and they might be via text or via audio calls. And sometimes we feel that the person is not actually reaching out for help, and the male on the other end is probably, struggling with some sort of perversion, and that's why they are reaching out. But so it gets very difficult to handle such cases, and we really have to screen them when we kind of, accept these kind of requests of online consultation. Another case with regards to sexual health which kind of surprises me is that I know this couple. The man has been visiting me for his anxiety issues, and the couple has 2 kids without even consummating the marriage.
Wow.
Yeah, so the guy struggles with a lot of anxiety which kind of affects his sexual performance, and even after repeated requests that this is something that can be resolved with therapy, that can be resolved with medications temporarily, the man refuses help for his anxiety and the sexual dysfunction. And they've had 2 kids using in utero insemination, which is like a step before IVF, where the sperm from the man is taken and inserted into the woman's body, and they have a happy, healthy marriage somehow.
I don't know what happy, healthy marriage means in this context, but tell me something, there must have been a lot of loopholes for them to reach this point without having consummated their marriage, right?
Absolutely. So initially they did struggle with it, but somehow the equation between the 2 couples or the 2 partners has been such where they are not feeling sexually frustrated, which sometimes I find difficult to believe, but that's what both of them maintain when they come to my clinic, and they are doing well, and they are looking after their kids, and they're focusing on other life goals at the present.
Do you think at some point this will also affect the kids, because they will understand that our parents don't have chemistry? They might get along, but they don't have chemistry.
So that's the thing, that they have a lot of non-sexual intimacy. So they're very affectionate towards each other. They're only struggling with intercourse because the guy struggles with performance anxiety and erectile dysfunction due to the same. So they have a very good bond as such as a couple. The parents, the children see a healthy couple in their parents because they are affectionate towards each other. They're caring towards each other, definitely.
Wow. This seems like a plot from one of the smut books that we all love to read. But coming back to the topic at hand, we're talking about women who are unapologetic. And I want to understand from your perspective, what does sexual liberation mean to you? And is it different from being sexually active?
Absolutely. So being sexually active is one of the aspects of sexual liberation, but it's not the most important or the necessary aspect, right? Sexual liberation means knowing what you want and asking for it unapologetically, and being able to say no if you want to say no. So it's more about autonomy, not looking for validation and not falling for cultural traps.
So, we've discussed in the previous episodes also that, there's a lot of society pressure to be a good girl, right? So how can a woman be sexually liberated, be free of the shame for her desires and fantasies and things that she wants sexually?
It's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. You need to be aware of what you like, and every time you are kind of discovering that, you might feel a sense of shame or guilt because it's been, beaten into us that women are not supposed to explore sexually. I want you to address that shame and guilt with compassion, right? Just asking yourself that if somebody else was going through this, would I be critical towards them? That's like a litmus test of compassion, that okay, if I can extend this empathy to somebody else, why can't I empathize with myself for wanting this? So that's something. And read a lot, speak to people, get your information from authentic sources and explore. That is something, and do it non-judgmentally with no judgment towards yourself as well. So that's something that helps you become more liberated sexually.
And your gender plays such an important role in this, right? Like if a guy is sexually active, he is looked at as, oh, ye to stud hai. But if a woman is doing it, then everybody wants to judge. Even her best friends might judge her for that.
Yes, so that's a cultural difference that we have, and that's a societal issue at large, that, in men, sexual exploration and sexual prowess is seen as a sign of strength, whereas in women, it's seen as a moral shortcoming, that, if you are exploring sexually or if you even express your desires, you are loose or you are easy or you are too bold. And that's not something which is accepted, or that's not something which is, liked in women,
right.
Unfortunately.
It is not liked, and women who are vocal and open are called too much.
They might be called too much, they might be called too difficult to handle, too easy. A lot of labels exist, right? And that's because it's so easy to judge than to understand. It's so easy to kind of continuing your thought process, which you've had for ages, which has been instilled in you, rather than questioning something, reasoning with something, that why is it okay for a man to be sexually active before marriage and explore his sexuality, but not okay for a woman to do that? And if a man is exploring his sexuality before marriage, if he's having sexual prowess and encounters, who is he having it with if he's not having them with women, right? Because if you expect men to be sexually active, women are going to be sexually active too. Okay. But one partner is rewarded for that and the other one is judged. That's very unfair. So, looking at things a bit more rationally and questioning your age-old thought processes is something that is required, definitely.
You're so correct. And I also saw some content online where, there are certain cultures even now who will display the bed sheet that has blood stains on it on the day after the marriage to prove that the girl was a virgin.
Yeah, absolutely. There are cultures which, value virginity so much more when it is nothing but just, a physical or a physiological aspect of your body. Virginity is not something which is black and white, right? There are a lot of reasons why you might not have an intact hymen even without having intercourse. And that should not be something that should be set as a benchmark for your moral this value. I believe that.
Because I have caught hold of you, I'm going to ask you this question. Why, as a society, do we have these double standards when it comes to sexually liberated women?
Patriarchy, probably. Patriarchy, double standards are there due to, the cultural norms which have been taught to us, which might not be completely ours, which were, learned from other cultures sometimes, but we've held on to those because it's just easier to kind of follow what we know rather than question. There's something we call as xenophobia. Every time there is a change in society, every time we come across something new, we are afraid. We are, not comfortable with accepting something new. And that is why we kind of, hold on to these double standards that we have.
And how do you think pop culture has contributed to shaping the idea of a liberal woman, and probably even social media?
So pop culture and social media both have, they've both been a double-edged sword, right? So sometimes they have depicted women who are sexually liberated, but it might not be a very realistic or a very authentic liberation. Sometimes, like you mentioned in your introduction as well, right? That sometimes women are just depicted as someone who's crazy, someone who's, reckless sexually, or someone who's just exploring. That's not the only aspect of sexual liberation. Sexual liberation also means knowing what you want and being able to ask for it and saying no if you want to say no, right? I don't need to always display my sexuality online. So the media does promote that, unfortunately, but it also helps people become more aware that it's okay for you to be this way if that's what you are.
Right. And there is this very cliche concept that I see that, when you want to show a sexually liberated woman, she will go out, get drunk every night, party every night. She will definitely get a bikini wax. But I want to ask you on a very personal note, what kind of communication did you receive receive about sexual wellness when you were growing up, and how did you deal with it? Did it help you? Did it not help you? How was that?
So like most Indian families, right, there was no conversation about sexuality while growing up. Whatever information we had was from books or from school when they taught us about puberty a little bit. I remember very clearly in the 9th standard, we had a chapter on reproduction, which was completely skipped. We were told it will not be asked in your exams. So we were very clearly told not to read about it. It's not going to be covered in your exams. You don't need to know about it, unfortunately. Lucky for me, I took medical science. So right from my 12th standard, I had to learn about it. And I had good teachers who taught to me without taboo eventually. And yes, we read more, we spoke to friends, we spoke to peers that, what were your experiences, and watched a few things online, and luckily got the good things, the good lessons online. So that's how we managed it. But now we do make sure, so we take a lot of workshops in school, we approach a lot of parents. Every time a child comes to our clinic or to my practice, we talk to them about, puberty, obviously with their parents' consent, but we do make it a topic that, they are aware about.
So what do you think is the ideal age to speak to your girl child, especially in the family, about sex, its implications and its importance?
So if you're talking about only sex and its implications, that would be around puberty, so around 10 and after that, 11, 12. But we do talk about consent, body autonomy, saying no, safe touch, unsafe touch with kids as young as 3 years old.
Right.
So, naming their private parts, telling them what a hug is, telling them they can say no to a hug or a kiss, what to do if somebody touches them inappropriately. They can say no, and nobody can touch them without their consent. Safe space, that's something that which we teach much early on, but the detailed and kids are very curious.
Right.
They'll come to you at a younger age also and ask you how a baby's made, or how did the baby get inside mommy's tummy. So you answer the questions age appropriately, and once the children are older, once they are reaching puberty, you can have a detailed conversation with proper explanation, scientific explanation. Males are taught about male sexual development and females are taught about female sexual development, and never the other way around. So that's a commendable thing that, being a woman, you have kind of spoken to your male child and explained to them about female physiology. That's a good teaching moment. And we have so many such teaching moments, right? A lot of us watch Disney movies, something as simple as Snow White, right? Yeah. What is consent, what is not consent? You cannot kiss somebody without their consent. It's there in the movie, but that's not okay to do it, right? Or we watch any other pop culture movie and we see something, which can be a teaching moment, that why is this happening, or what exactly happens. We can talk to our children about that.
So how does being unapologetically yourself in terms of sexual wellness translate into other aspects of our lives?
It's a great, self-esteem booster. If you are unapologetically yourself in your sexual life, you are going to be that way most probably in all other aspects of your life. Knowing your body, knowing yourself gives you the confidence to do what you want and ask for what you need. So that is something very important. It kind of, allows you to be your best version. So that's definitely important. And it's also kind of teaching you boundaries that, this is something that I don't like. And I'm, able to say no to this when I don't like it. And I wouldn't treat others the way I don't like treating myself. So that's also something that's important. We learn that.
This reminds me of the film called Runaway Bride, where, the hero tells the heroine that you don't even know how you like your ex, because she just keeps adapting to whoever she's dating. And I think it's a great reference point for us in terms of sexual wellness also, because we don't know what we like, plus we don't know, by we I mean the women. Society at large and women in specific, we don't know what we like and what we don't like. So how can we tell our partners?
Yeah. So males and boys are encouraged more to kind of explore their sexuality, not from their parents, not family wise, but culturally it's more acceptable, and that's why boys do it. And girls are usually given the message that okay, you need to repress your sexuality, right? And most of the times they don't know, and not even just sexuality, even sensuality. They don't know what things they like. As simple as what kind of eggs you like in the movie, right? So yes, it's good to kind of be aware of this and then actually explore that what is it that you like.
So tell me, what does it mean to be responsibly free? Where I'm talking about pleasure, respect, consent, everything. What does it mean to be liberal sexually?
So, like you had in the question, right? Your pleasure, respect, and consent need to go hand in hand. So, when you are pleasuring yourself, or when you are in a relationship and your partner is pleasuring you, the relationship needs to be based on mutual respect, non-judgmental space, and definitely consent, right? Because that is what makes it enjoyable eventually. So, these three things need to be there, and understanding that, if you don't like something, you can say no to it, and that does not mean like a personal rejection. You do not need to offend your partner. Your partner need not feel offended by it, right? It's just a matter of choice. So having that conversation and not at the expense of somebody else. So when we talk about being responsible with your sexual exploration, it also means that I wouldn't do something that I wouldn't like being done to me.
Right.
So treating others with respect, right? So if you are going to break up with somebody, or if you are just going to hook up with somebody, let them know that this is just a fling, and don't play with their emotions. So that is something that we would want to do.
And I want to ask you, what role does social media now play in also sort of putting the pressure to be sexually liberated as a woman?
There is a lot of pressure, right? Though it's not healthy, but it does exist. Like we discussed, it's a two-edged sword. It's something that gives you the information, but it also then sets these expectations that you always have to be looking a certain way, you always have to be behaving a certain way socially, and you always have to kind of, give out certain kinds of information which you might not be comfortable with.
Right.
So this pressure does come on social media, yes.
And it's so problematic because the information you're getting is not necessarily correct or the information you need at this point of time.
Absolutely. There is no restriction that, you can put as to who's watching your content, or, who's putting up the comments on your space. So that is something which is very problematic. And second thing is that we don't want to put everything out there, but we end up putting it sometimes due to pressure, sometimes not being aware whether I'm doing it for validation or whether I'm doing it as a process or a journey of, just exploration and expression.
Or I'm doing it just because everybody else is doing it.
Absolutely, yeah. So not knowing that.
So that is actually my final question for this episode. How do you strike the balance between maintaining a certain amount of privacy and being open?
So first thing we need to understand is that you need not share your journey publicly. You need not put it out there if you are not comfortable, just out of peer pressure or just out of pressure, societal pressure. Start by quietly choosing what you like, or understanding what you like and what you don't like, right? Even if you're sharing, make sure you are sharing it in a safe space, in a closed community, or a community where you know that you are not going to be targeted for it or, harassed for it. Always have a backup plan as to what will I do if things go wrong. Right? And we need not share the nitty-gritties, right? So sometimes you can share the lessons from your experience, the themes from your experience, instead of sharing the nitty-gritty details of as to how you had the experience. That is something that allows you to balance, expression along with maintaining some privacy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mansi. This has been great as usual.
Well, we don't talk enough about this, and that is why we need to kind of have such more conversations, and that is why all of you should like and subscribe to this channel.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
94.3 Radio 1.